Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are joining us for Life is a Sacred Journey. It is always my pleasure and honor to come to you. I got new glasses. I'm trying to figure out what's the best type of glasses to wear, but I love these cat glasses. Good morning, Miss Teresa. It's good to see you. I call Sister T, thanking her every Wednesday. I wake up and at 6 a.m. We have a virtual meditation prayer, Betty, good morning, group that meets. And she leads us through a time of just reflection and thought and prayer. So please, Hope United Methodist Church, Wednesday mornings at 6 a.m. Join us. Good morning, Felicia. I want to shout out to Felicia. Felicia is the producer of Life is a Sacred Journey to make sure that the message gets out all over the neighborhood, or actually all over the global community. So we're being heard in Dubai and France and Moldova and all the places, Mexico, and even Cuba. So I am so excited to be here with you this morning. I do have a heavy heart. I want you all to know, while I am living through this time, I'm trying to find a place of peace. I'm trying to find a place where I can work to make a change in the world. I do believe, though, that change is only going to come if we work together to change policy, if we work together to change laws, if we work together to change the things that are happening. What I guess I want to say, I want to say I'm hopeful, but I'm not hopeful. I'm sorry, I'm not, because I've known other movements and other times where we've gotten angry, but then after the anger goes away and we all go back to our respective homes and places, we go back to the same behavior. So my hope is that this is a time of critical change. And I think the reason it is because humanity all over the world is raising up and saying no more. People are marching in France, in Spain, in South America, in China, Hong Kong, Singapore, all over the world. They are saying that people's lives matter. And so I am so excited that people are having this conversation. But I want it to go further. Once you're off the streets and the pandemic is gone, you've got to be working with your legislators to change the laws in your communities. You have to work on not making a felony out of walking across the street, or somebody smoking a joint because they have mental health issues and you pounce on them. But meanwhile, somebody is breaking in somebody's house and raping and pillaging and murdering them. We need to come together in a more global way. Oh, my son from Belgium, Frederic. Good morning. So all of this we have to do together. Good morning, Renee. But the reality is we got to get silent at some point and do some education. So I have said to many of my white friends and sisters and brothers and siblings, I can't save you. You've got to do some educating of your own. You've got to learn about the fact that blacks did have a Wall Street, that we were prosperous. You have to understand that we did all the things that we were told to do. We went and got the education. We started acting, these models of humanity that we were told would make us free, and it hasn't. So what I'm saying to you is we've got to sit down together, and you as Caucasians and I as a native black, we have to sit down and tell the truth. You got to start telling the truth about the history. And then we have to cry together, mourn together, grieve together this terrible life of 400 and something years that we've allowed to happen. And then we can move on to day number 1, where there will be change. But until we do that, and then when we keep bringing up looting and bringing out, oh, this person did this before in his life, who cares? Who cares? We've all done something wrong. Some of us just didn't get caught. We've got to silence the violence. Thank you, Renee. We've got to silence the violence. But white silence, as my sister Renee says, is the violence. Last rant. Yeah, you know I got to rant at you. I love you. This came up for me this morning. I know and found out, and I think it's public knowledge, and allegedly, I'll say allegedly so nobody will sue me, that the woman who called the police on Mr. Cooper only saw Mr. Cooper's blackness. She didn't see his lifestyle. She didn't know anything about Mr. Cooper other than she was coming up against a black man. So I say that because my LGBTQIA pan brothers and sisters, we have marched with you. But you need to understand that racism is the very thing that makes it possible for the homophobia that you are experiencing as gay people. So we've got to hit to the core, to the root of what makes us the humanity that we are. Then we all, black, white, brown, LGBTQIA pan, everybody will be able to live together. You don't have to like me, but you darn well better respect me, because I give you that respect as a fellow human being. So that's my meditation for this morning. That's what came on my heart as I was driving in. And I have so many, I hate to even say it this way because this is where we are. I have white friends who I love. I love them. But what I'm saying to them is speak up for us. Speak up for me. And make it possible for the world to be a better place. And if you see someone beating one of my children down on the street, save them. Please save them if I'm not there too. And I'll do the same for you. Well, last week we had my daughter, Jade Davis, who I am proud of, love, my mentor and friend, on the broadcast. And Jacob Jones was supposed to join us, and he could not join us because he was asleep. I don't blame him. But today he woke up just for me to get up early and for all of you to share who he is. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jacob. I met Jacob so many moons ago. And this post-millennial generation of folks who I actually have known them long enough to be in their lives for a long time, right? And I love them so much. And so Jacob is one of my dear, dear sons. I have sons all over the world. And he's studying right now at Diablo Valley College, computer science and graphic design. He's one of the young men that I told you about last week where I came home and he was sitting on my lawn. He's one of the young men who came down the street on my birthday, making sure that I had a really good 63 singing to me and tooting their horns and bringing my neighbors out to see what the heck was going on. Boris and Katharina, thank you for joining us. But Jacob is also a caregiver. As a millennial, he is helping to caregive for his grandmother, and he assists his mother, who I love, Miss Donna. And he's also a student, and he's also a part of that generation that I think will lead us into a new way of thinking. And so I want to welcome you this morning, Jacob. Are you there?
Absolutely.
Well, I want to welcome you this morning and first of all say thank you for getting up because I know you had to get up, my brother.
Very glad to be here.
So I want to talk about, first of all, your take on where we are now. You know, we've been sheltering in place for almost 16, 17 weeks. During this time, a reality of life has become more aware to a larger group of people. People are now, because of cell phones and things, we saw something horrific. And so on top of it, the pandemic and Black Lives Matter have married themselves together to make us disgust us and to make us want to go into a movement. So from your perspective, Jacob, looking in on all of this, because I know you and Jade together have attended marches in both Walnut Creek and Concord, and your voices resonate in my soul. But as you look in on this time, what are you seeing? What do you see?
I definitely have seen a lot of hurt and a lot of pain through a lot of people, but I've also seen so much unity, so many people coming together, and so many people spreading love to each other and awareness. I mean, you go on Netflix, they immediately show you Black Lives Matter, different movies and TV shows and documentaries such as The 13th and Malcolm X and Let It. A different thing. If you go on Netflix and you look at the cover for the movie Let It Fall, it almost looks like something that I could have seen at the Walnut Creek March, the first Monday that this all started, because it became militarized a little quickly and a bit surprisingly. But the pictures are from between 1982 to 99, but the reality that the military can still have the same effect and the same, ominous almost look is a little disappointing that they don't think that we can be peaceful. But I mean, that's to be also somewhat understood because of the protests, or not the protests, but the rioting, which has completely, hasn't entirely, but sheared what we're trying to accomplish here, which is a little upsetting. But it's those rioters and all of that pollutant to the cause right now at hand has been getting out, which has been beautiful, getting away from that and focusing on the matter at hand and, coming together and spreading that Black Lives Matter,
Well, and the other side of it, I love that you bring that up, Jacob, is that, I think that sometimes we get so nervous about these topics that are scary to discuss that we focus in on the negative piece. Like, when people say, but the looting. And something happened to me yesterday in my car. I drink a vitamin protein drinky thingy, and I put a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in it, but there's orange juice always as the base. Well, yesterday it got hot enough in the car that, and driving home, once the car started moving, that that water bottle exploded, okay, in the back of the car. So when you take elements of, and I started thinking about it, because you know how I think. I started thinking, okay, if you take pain, you take anger, you take despair, you take 400 and plus years, you take never solidly being accepted for who you are, that's the kind of explosion that happens. My briefcase was full of this drink. It was all over the car. And then finally, though, last night, I went out and cleaned it, right? And it's the same kind of thing you're talking about. How do we get to the place of cleaning out the gobbledygook, Jacob, and having really good conversations about change? How do we get there?
I mean, first of all, I think that, I can't control how other people are going to react because I'm not a part of that demographic. I am white, and I know that, and I see my privilege, and I'm not going to tell anybody else how to react to the situation if they are being affected. Of course, there are some people that aren't being affected and still part of the problem.
Yeah.
But aside from that, people will get upset, and then they will start to heal, and their eyes will start to open onto what really matters. And that's where we're at now, and there are so many petitions, and there's so many different protests where people are getting up and talking about what we need to do in our community and what we need to do statewide to our countries, going from community to state to country and spreading that between all of us, such as, some people are saying defunding the police authority, and as well as signing all of these petitions, trying to pass new laws, and trying to create something that we can all agree on. Because at the end of the day, we're just not agreeing. That's the problem, is that we're not coming together. And we need to start sharing those good and those bad ideas to have that conversation and not to get upset with each other.
Yes, the debate, right? Jacob, you and I talked about this a lot because you and I both love the debate. We have to learn to be able to have debate and disagree with each other without making a big brouhaha about it and acting as if we can't love each other through those debates. I don't know. Do you have any advice on that?
Well, one thing that someone said that kind of struck me was that at a certain point we can say we can agree to disagree, but there also has to be some rules and some lifestyles and some values that we can't agree to disagree on. We all have to agree on the same common knowledge. Black Lives Matter, yes, and that we are all a part of the human race, yes, and that we're not going to be at each other's throats, that we all have the same values, we all bleed red, and an addition or a lack of melanin is not going to, divide us, and it shouldn't, and it's petty and childish and immature and a very old thought that is, we're getting away from, thankfully.
Yeah, and there has to be more education, as my sister Renee Nash is saying in the chat, is that, we have to also educate people, because I'm always amazed when I share the history of our Americas, that even those immigrants who have chosen to come to America do not understand the history. And by not understanding the history and the impact of that history, because we don't talk about it, and it's not taught. Because I know when Jade brought home her history books, the first thing that they had in there was only about slaves. Slaves. That's the only history of Native blacks that was in the history book. Never anything about Frederick Douglass. Never anything about Booker T. Washington and all of these Black Wall Street. That is not being taught in our public school system. So therefore, you, even as a white young man, you only learn if your family, which you have a family like that, I will say, help you to learn and take you out of your comfort zone so you can see things differently. And I think that's what makes the world different for your generation, is that you guys know more than the generation prior to you, and then you're doing more homework. Am I making that up?
No, absolutely. You're spot on, right on the ball, because we have so many more resources than we've ever had in the past. We've got the internet, we've got different movies, we've got bigger news outlets, and social media. People can educate each other. But the biggest thing is that it starts at home. And we have to make sure that our families are healthy enough to have those conversations, and that we can communicate comfortably. And if we can't communicate with our family, then communicate to our friends. Find someone that we can exchange these values and these different ideas. And they can be different. They can be different until we can no longer go to the point where we can agree to disagree. Until that is where we have to meet at our ends and say, all right, we cannot agree to disagree. We must agree on the same common values.
That's right.
That's becoming so much easier because now we can see Black culture, and we can see all of the beautiful things that have come. There's so many values in life today, especially in music, and so much culture that was because of the Black Americans and just Black culture in general that is so beautiful and so vibrant and flourishing still, and it's never been polluted, and it keeps growing. That's coming out more and more. There's so much more soul food. There's so much.
That's my Jacob. Go ahead, Jacob.
The things that are going off that are just beautiful in life because of African American culture.
Well, and I have to tell you all out there in Facebook land, Jacob loves Micheal Pope's macaroni and cheese. You hear me? Okay. All right. Jacob gets down. Hit that subscribe button. Felicia's reminding me. Like us on Facebook. Hit that share button right now and follow us on Instagram. So there, I did it, Felicia. The other thing is, Jacob, I want to ask you this question. If we all came together to have this dialogue, what is the forum that you think would be best? Right now, we're still, many of us, sheltering in place, and, we're not going to be able to be together face to face. But we need to have this conversation and have this learning and growing, going together, right? How now, what would you like to see happen from this conversation going out?
I mean, if we could have multiple group different settings, there needs to be a national breaking news broadcast that goes on to every type of whatever you can find, any type of broadcasting, whether it be social media or cable access or the radio, whatever you can, that gives you so many different groups that you can join into and letting you know when they're happening, that people can hone in on each one and have their own conversations, saying that theirs is with this community in this neighborhood or this state or this city, and having that conversation in their community, and having those voices that don't get heard very much be heard, and having those voices that are heard, they're heard for a reason, and they're saying good things, spread more good things, and we all have to listen to that and accept that other people have these values, and if more people are listening to it, it probably means they know what the heck they're talking about, at least to some degree.
All right. So before we run out of time, Jacob, I want to give you 2 words, and I want you to tell me what those words mean to you and share with others. And again, we're going to pretty much close out after I get your response. But I want to know, want you to know how much I appreciate your sharing your heart with everybody, because this is going to go out, and we may not have a lot of Facebook Live folks that watch us initially, but it goes out and we have a lot of people. So you are sharing your spirit. When I say to you, as a Generation Z, white male, white fragility, how does that make you feel? Or what does that make you feel?
It means that I have my own privilege. I understand that, and I see that, and it's important for me to use my privilege and my platform to spread what other people who don't have the same access, unfortunately, that I was given for some reason that other people have had ripped away, that I've got that opportunity to help other people with my voice, and I'm lucky, and I think that kind of sums it up.
I think you're more than lucky, Jacob. I think you're blessed to have a mother and a family that have surrounded you with love and affection, so therefore you know how to love. You have a family around you that, that I know did not raise you to be bigoted, but also not to run around saying, I don't see skin color. I remember your mother saying to me when we met initially, she was saying to me, your skin is so beautiful. Your coloring is so beautiful. She didn't say she didn't see skin color. I wasn't invisible to her. She was, so that's who raised you. And there's an old saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So when you said earlier, it's about parenting, I want to say to all of you future parents, and you're one of them, Jacob, possibly, I hope, because you'd be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
down in the future, or if you're raising a little tyke right now, teach them well. Teach them well. Because by the time they go to kindergarten, they're going to be in a classroom with people who are not teaching their children well. And you have to place a foundation there that will help that child get through the stuff that isn't true. Pay attention to what they're learning and what the teachers are teaching them. Help the teachers wherever you can to bring in new ideas and exposures to the kids in the classroom. That's what I did. I want to thank Barbara McCurran, who was one of my children's elementary school teachers, who invited me to the classroom to talk about my situation and who I was as an African American woman and all of that. So teach the children so that the world can get better. And then we can be the leaders of a future generation and a future world of humanity. Jacob, you stay on. I want you to stay on because I want you to hear this. But thank you, Jacob Jones, my friend, a teacher to me, someone that I love, that I will always, I want you to know you always have a place. Mi casa, your casa. Okay?
Absolutely.
So stay on. As we close,
I love you very much.
I love you very much, Jacob, and that's the truth. And nothing and nobody can change that. So stay on.
Right. Do you remember the word that we shared?
Say it.
Sawubona.
Oh, Sawubona.
Correct word?
Yes, Sawubona. We see you. I see you.
I see you and that I am with you.
Yes, and I am with you. Thank you, Jacob, for reminding me of that. Sawubona. Yes. I want to read a poem by Paul Lawrence Dunbar. Maya Angelou did it as well and added her own voice to it. It's on Facebook now. But I'm going to read the original because it was written way before these times. We wear the mask is the title of the poem. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile, and mouth with myriad subsidies. Why should the world be otherwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but oh great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh the clay is vile beneath our feet and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask. Know that we are all wearing masks that we need to take off. We need to take off our cool suits, our cool vests, and know that only together will we change the world. And it's Generation Z all the way back to us baby boomers and any other folks that are alive on the planet. We all must be engaged in intentional conversation. We all must be willing to hear the bad news so that we can begin the good news. We have to take off the labels that, thank you, Jay, take off our labels that are killing us. Let's begin the conversation. And I hope that that's the lady, the virtual lady for the podcast. 6 seconds. So I have 6 seconds to say to you, I love you. I pray that you will continue to have these conversations in your homes. I pray that you will listen to these podcasts and share them with other people to begin to have the conversations in the home. Teach the children well, because unless we do, we will continue to do this to each other. And it's a waste of time. Too much joy. Well, have a blessed day, everybody. Be safe out there. My black and brown brothers and sisters, everybody's life matters, but at this time, Black lives matter more than ever. Let's work together to lift that reality today and in our lifetime. Go with peace. Namaste. Be well.